Okay, guys, I'm back for the third day. So, yeah, yesterday I left off with I got the game working. I was able to share it on a website. I published it to a domain, and now I'm working on adding audio. So, I only have this basic free pack that I found on the Unity Resource Hub, and it has this kind of annoying gunshot sound that I think you guys can hear. But right now it's just playing at the start of the scene. I'm going to go ahead and change it to play kind of every time he scores a point, just because that was one of the exercises that our guy recommended in his tutorial. So far what I've done is I've imported the free pack of sounds, and I added it somewhere here. I added it on the Logic Manager. And now for some reason, it's playing the sound when the scene starts, which might be some kind of default behavior. But if we take a look at what the tutorial says, it's saying that we want to update the Logic Manager script to use the sound. So I'm going to go ahead and make that change now. So yeah, let's open up Logic script, and we need to just reference the audio source the way they did there. So we can do a public audio source. We can call it bullet SFX, and then it's just in the add score. We're going to do bullet SFX.play. And that's a capital P. Now I'm wondering where the name bullet SFX comes in. Because, okay, so now that I've added it, it's created this here. I don't know that I did the right thing here. Okay, I can just do that. What if I just take the handgun? What is this one? We'll take this. Yeah, we'll just take this. Maybe we just take that and we drag that over here. How about that? No, that doesn't work. Okay, so I think this is probably the right way. So let's try this. Okay, so it should give me a point when or make the sound. Yep, okay, cool. So yeah, we can see it's doing it, but for some reason it's also still doing it at the start of the scene, which don't fully understand why that's happening. I could ask the AI to help me, and I probably will. Let me go ahead and ask the AI why is it doing it and how to fix it. So we're going to go open up Claude Code. We're going to say fix and explain the root cause of the bug. Why does and what's the name of the sound? Handgun 1 audio source play at the start of the scene. I've programmed it to play when a user scores a point as seen in, we'll just give it the line number for context. So we can use this trick where we do Command-Shift-P, copy relative path, and then we can understand that it's on line 19, so that I can go back here and I can say as seen in this file, line 19. So giving context to the AI when you give it a task, just like a person, really helps it understand what you're asking it to do. Yeah, we're going with gunshots today, OG. It's tough out here in the Flappy Bird hood. He's got all kinds of violence, and it looks like the root cause here is that audio source components have a checkbox called play on awake. Okay, so that's in the audio source. So it should be as simple as unchecking a box. Yep, there we go. Cool. And then I do want to mess with the numbers a bit because the game is super hard. And like, if you try to play it, you can't really get 2 points unless you're like really good at this stuff. So I think there's got to be a way to, I think, make gravity go faster and make the jump go higher. So let me also just ask the AI to do that. Okay, now make a tweak such that gravity pulls the bird down faster, but also jumps/flaps move the bird up faster. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, damn Trappy Bird is out here. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to kind of getting to the next step here where I'm not just following a tutorial and I'm building the actual game I want to build, which is probably going to be sooner than later. And then I'm going to start promoting on my X account so we can get some more people in the chat. Oh yeah, the scrolling could also go slower. That's a good point too. And we could probably move the bird to the left. So let's see. Okay, so it just changed a few numbers. Let's see how this is. Okay, this is definitely more playable. All right, watch out for the gunshots. This game is still too hard, but just spacing out the pipes could also be a good, easy fix. I think at this point, spacing them out would be a fun little thing to do. So let's just try to do that really quick. So I bet it's probably in the pipe spawner. What is this spawn rate? I think that's a code that I wrote in the past. So let's go to pipe spawn script. Yeah, it has a spawn rate of 2. So if we look at this, it's just basically saying every 2 frames, or every 2 seconds. So yeah, let's just double it to 4. I just want to see if I can get like more than 2 points because this game is just too hard for me. I don't think that had any effect. But you know what? I got a bunch of points. So why didn't that change anything? I changed the spawn rate to 4. Really confused about that. What if I just change it to 20? Let's just make sure that I am understanding this correctly. Okay, there's one pipe. Yeah, they're still not coming in any slower. Oh, it shows here the spawn rate is 2. Wonder why that's happening. Is this word spawn rate referenced anywhere else? That's confusing. I don't really understand why it's taking on a new value. It's interesting. So if I put a 2 here, it seems almost as if this number here is like a different number from the number here. Because I change it and this number stays the same. Let me try to ask the AI why that's happening. So I can again take the line number, relative path in line 5. I updated spawn rate to be 5. But when I play the game inside of the Unity editor and inspect the pipe spawn script, I can see it retains the value 2 for spawn rate. Why is this happening? Let's see. This is expected Unity behavior. When you modify a public field's default value in code, like spawn rate 5, it only affects new instances of that script component. Okay, so they're recommending that I literally just have to change it here because it's part of the scene. So the scene defines some props, and it looks like those can conflict with the props defined here, and it looks as if the values here will take precedence. So interesting. Because I bet if I change this to 20, it will do nothing here, right? This will retain the value 10. Okay, so I think I get it. When you first declare a variable, it's going to set its value here. And then anytime you change it, it's not going to make a difference. Interesting. Okay. Seems a bit strange, but I'm not too worried about it. I'm just going to increase it to 5 here and make sure it works. And then I'm going to play some music after this. Okay, so this should do something. So this game should be easier now. Way less pipes. Cool. All right, Trappy Bird is out here. All right, I've had enough of that. Okay, let's play some music. It's gonna be some more like focus music. Let's try this, some new playlist. Okay, that will do for me. Okay, great. So yeah, let's see what else this guy says to do.
Then I want you to play around with the
looks
particle
interesting.
system to make clouds appear in the game. Next, open
Let's figure out how to make clouds appear in the game using the particle system. Okay, well, this will be fun. How do we find the particle system? It seems like the way he did it involved making a new game object, so we'll start with that and call it clouds. Now, we probably want to add a component called particle system. Seems likely. Oh, what the hell? Okay, so if I just play, will we get a bunch of pink squares now? Okay, I guess I don't know. Oh yeah, I saw a square. Let's just see what happens with these pink squares. Okay, cool. So it looks like if I look at the scene, I bet we can see that. Yeah, so the camera's here, the particle system is just currently out of focus. And that's just the way things are oriented in our scene. But if we look at what he's done,
reference it on the script and have it play when the score goes up. Then I want you to play around with the
he's done something interesting where it looks like the
particle
particles
system
get
to make
generated
clouds appear
out
in the game.
there, similar to the pipe spawner. Does the pipe spawner have a location? Yeah, so the pipe spawner actually has the same location as the clouds. And the pipe spawner, we can actually look at the script. Does he use a script? I guess we'll have to look to understand this, but coming from a more software heavy background, I'm immediately thinking I should just write a script to spawn the pipes. But it looks like the particle system already implements a script for us. So we just need to tweak these variables and it'll give us the same effect as the pipe spawner. So we could look and copy his variables, but let's also see if I have the cloud file, because I think I downloaded all of his files. Let me just check. I do have the cloud file, so I'm going to drag it into the project. I don't remember where to drag it into. But yeah, just a few minutes ago, I went downstairs to get some coffee. At this point, I'm kind of just making up reasons to go downstairs. And the guy was doing maintenance on the coffee machine.
Then I want you to play around with the particle system to make...
Where do I put this cloud? Fuck, god damn it. Can I just put it in there? Okay, I mean, gotta figure out where this fucking cloud goes. I don't think it's a texture. What does it say? Oh, it is a texture. Okay, so then yeah, it probably just goes on the field that said texture, wherever that was. I swear I saw something that said texture here. Oh no, I see it there. It says shape, so it's under shape. So they're using a cone shape for whatever reason. Interesting. But looks like we want to use a rectangle, and then this is gonna go here. Okay, so we can play it. I see. Okay, got it. And we probably want to spread them out. Oh no, he doesn't have a texture in his, so let's go ahead and remove that. Yeah, he doesn't use the texture. Interesting. I don't really understand that. Yeah, just figuring this stuff out is not fun. Okay, well, I don't understand how it's going to work, but let's see.
Make clouds appear in the game. Next, open the animation.
Huh. We could try to consult the AI to help us figure this out. So I'm just going to say I've added a particle system to generate clouds from the Unity Tut cloud texture object, but I'm not sure which field to modify in the particle system inspector to make it generate clouds instead of squares. Okay, so that might give us a clue. I'm turn the music up a little bit, 'cause I know everybody loves this put you to sleep classical stuff. You need to modify the renderer section of the particle system. Expand the renderer module at the bottom. Okay, there's a renderer module. Let's look at that one. It sounds relevant. So it's says go from billboard to sprite, I bet it's just making shit up because there is no fucking sprite option. This is the issue with AI. Let's see. In that case, you will need to use the material approach. Okay, let's see what it says. In the renderer module, find the material field. Sure, of course there is no such field here either. So, okay. So if we look at the billboard thing though, maybe it is somewhere here. Huh. Interesting. Let's take
on
a
the
look.
script
Maybe
and have it play when the score goes up. Then I want you to play around with the particle system.
So how come in his it says none texture 2D, but it has that little icon there? I wonder what that means. And then, okay, this music is just killing me. I can't do this. Alright, we're gonna try another one. Okay, this will be exciting. Whatever this is. Alright, okay, so this is super annoying. How do we get these fucking clouds here? Why don't I just Google it? So, particle system render sprite. Scroll down to render and expand it. Okay. Material. Okay, I think that's the AI is going to do. Yeah, find the material. So I do find it now. Now, so we need to click on renderer, and then on material, what do we do next? Can I drag the material in there? No, we can't do that. Okay, so look for the material that you're talking to or create a new one. So we're going to right click in project window and do plus. Sprite default. Sprite default. And now we're just going to drag it into texture sprite. Not right. Huh. Check the data set all that. Here we go. This one seems to take effect too, so let's do that. Why did it make it into a sphere? That's interesting. I don't know if that's really important though. Okay, but now if you take a look at the clouds. Okay, so I added a material, so now I can put that material in, right? I don't know why it's a fucking circle though. Let's see what happens. So if I play it. Okay, those don't look like circles, so I think it's doing the wrong thing. But now we need to figure out how to like spread them out. What numbers did he use? He did a scale and a rotation. And those are part of the top thing. Alright, we can try that.
To make clouds appear.
So he also modified the rate over time. Again, his okay, it's got to be under emission, right? So yeah, rate over time. He put to 2, so let's do 2. And then we need to do these numbers probably. So we're gonna do minus 90. We're gonna do 50 and negative 17. Let's see what that does. Somehow, obviously, that works. Interesting. So let's just try to play with these numbers a bit. If I can't see rotation to be 0, that just kind of sticks them around. Okay. I think maybe 9. They kind of move slowly. It's kind of similar, but his are still wider than mine. I wonder how I can make them wider. I think it's a 500. I don't yet know what the scale is. I'll tell you that. What if I randomize direction? So let's just see if it's even showing up in the game. Okay, it's showing up. So for some reason, his are wider. Oh no, I didn't try that again. I gotta work on speaking into the mic. Got it. Alright, okay, so struggling with these clouds is fun. Let's just go ahead and modify each of these numbers. So start delay, if we do that, we restart it, it just starts after 2 seconds, right? Yeah, so that's easy. Start lifetime, start speed. What does start lifetime do? Yeah, so if I change it to 10, they last for 10 seconds, which is actually what we want, because then we can see that after 10 seconds they kind of fall off the screen. So that's a nice thing. 3D start size. I wonder what that does. I bet that's actually super relevant. If I change this to 4, yeah, see, so that's going to make them wider, right? So why don't we try making them bigger? So if we make 4 and 2, those clouds look kind of nice. I don't think we want any rotation, but I'm not sure that we don't. No, we definitely don't want rotation. What does simulation speed do? Okay, that just makes him go faster. We want him going at that. There's no rotation. This is cool. Okay, sure, we can change the running speed. I don't like how they're going over the bird. I do want to figure that out. So let's try this now. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they should be going over the bird or the pipes. They should be behind those things. Alright. So, the order of the layers. I could look at this. I feel like I'm kind of happy with these clouds. These are a little bit different, but let me just try to play with a few more of these. So what is culling mode? What is ring buffer mode? That stuff's not important, I can tell. Yeah, emission is important. What is the shape? Oh yeah, you know, rate over distance might be better. I don't know what that even does. I do think 1 rate over time is better. Because with 2, they're kind of overlapping. Yeah, I think 1 is definitely more appealing. And then shape, texture. Okay. There's a whole bunch of options here. Pretty interesting program that they wrote. So this is, seems like basically this kind of this particle system is a good way to just get a bunch of textures for things like sparks or flames or things like that. I could see it being really useful. So glad they got me playing with this thing. Let's see what else we can do. Okay, I think the last thing is just I want to put them behind everything else. So, okay, now the clouds are spawning, but they are showing up on the scene on top of the bird and the pipes. I want them behind the bird and pipes. How to fix. You know, your options when you're trying to learn these new things are you can either read the documentation or the AI has already read the documentation and you can chat with it, but you kind of need to do both to really understand this. So you need to adjust the sorting layer or order in layer in the particle system's renderer module. Select the particle system game object. In the inspector, expand the renderer module, find sorting layer and order in layer. Set order in layer to a negative value to push it behind everything. We could do that now. So we got a renderer, order in layer, -1. Yep. He's now in front of the clouds. Which is great. He doesn't deserve to be behind the clouds. He's already looking for gunshots and avoiding them. It's got a hard life. Alright. Cool. I'm happy with this. Alright. So yeah, then the coffee machine wasn't working and she was like, oh, let me get you some cold brew out of the fridge. I was like, alright, yeah, sure. I don't know if she had to do that. but that's where we are. All right, moving on. So I should actually, just for fun, be able to kind of update this and do another build. That way the web version is also up to date. So the way we can do that is we're going to go to File, Build Profiles, and we just click Build. And it's going to replace the existing build. And then once I commit that to Git, it will deploy it automatically to our Vercel deployment. So that'll be fun. And then I can play it in the web browser really quickly for you guys. And I'll share the link just for fun. These builds are so slow, like it's just a fucking Flappy Bird game. How long could it possibly take? I mean, it took me 3 days, but still, this computer should be able to do it in like 2 seconds. I feel like when it's building, I need to be better about maybe I have some notes on what I want my actual game to do. Okay, it just finished the build, but I have some notes on what I want the actual game to do, and I can start to talk about that and generate those. But then I kind of want to save that stuff for like when I actually start building it. So I think it's better to just talk about it. So I'll start doing that. So, okay. So we got the new build. So if we go down here, we can do a git status. You can see there are all these changes, so I just need to add everything and do git. Oh, hold on, this might be a problem because some of the files are large. So let's ask Claude to help us with this. I have a lot of changes and I need to push them and deploy them. Some of the files might be large, and you helped me use git LFS for the last set of commits. Help me commit the changes and push them. All right. Okay, so we just want to track all the .gz files, and then that should do it. Nice. So yeah, with this git push, I can check on my Vercel account. We should be able to see it running a deployment. Looks like that was 22 hours ago, so it's still pushing slowly. It says it's successfully pushed, but okay, now I see the deployment going out. cool. I'm gonna send this to a couple friends. They were complaining that the game is too hard. But let's make sure it works first. So let's go over here. It just finished deploying. I'm gonna go to this Flappy Bird. Uh-oh, we got an error. Unable to load that. Let's see why. So it used to work, but now it's broken. Let's see. Good news, the files are still there. The issue is that we did that, but they should be like that. Okay. Don't fully get it, but... Oh, basically we're not using LFS tracking for that. Okay, it's fixed, and I think it's pushed. Yeah, it's deploying now. Yeah, I'm actually not really interested in making a web game because, I mean, it's cool, but it looks like it's still broken. It's still broken, so let's see. Why would that be the case? Let's check what's actually in the repo. Okay, so we need to migrate, export everything. Yeah, just force push it, please. I don't know what with lease does, but sure. So yeah, back to the game. It's really inspired by this game Mechabellum, which I play. So this game is kind of like a strategy game where you can place units on your side of the map and the opponent places units on their side of the map, and then they kind of auto battle. So there's a whole bunch of strategy to it where different units counter different units. And so it's a really fun game where you can kind of make all these different units and have them counter each other. But it kind of doesn't play well on your... Well, it doesn't play on the mobile phone at all right now, but it has like too much complexity to run well on a phone. So I kind of want to dumb it down and make a version of a game or a very similar game that's going to run on the phone, because I think it's a cool genre. And yeah, as you can see, this is much more playable. Yeah, let's see if I can play it on my phone really quickly. I'll use the iPhone mirroring thing so you guys can follow along. Okay. We don't need notifications, just start using it. Okay, well, let me do this. Okay, we just want to look at the game. Okay, cool. So here's the game on my phone. Yeah, and so if I click there, it plays. It doesn't really give us much width on the screen, so I wonder if you can flip this to landscape. sure there's a way to get it on landscape. Let's see. Whatever. I honestly don't care. Just send it to a couple people just for fun. Could be fun to kind of like modify the size of the scene based on the size of the window the user has, but it's also really not important. So yeah, I'm kind of done with that. Cool. Gonna send that to a couple people for fun. Cool. So yeah, I got about 30 minutes. I gotta go. But yeah, so basically in this game Mechabellum, there are a whole bunch of units. We can take a look at the wiki really quickly. But there are all these different units, and what happens is you can place these units like in a pack. So you get a pack of 3 of these, and then you'll get to place them in this grid on your side of the map. Yeah, so you can see these little green squares around the units that are being placed. And so I want to make something very similar basically where we can place units, but I want it to work on your phone. So I'm thinking of like making a smaller grid. So I'm trying to think like what is a good first step, like something I can build that is going to make a step towards this game. It's definitely a 3D game. I wonder if I should consider trying to find a 3D tutorial, or maybe I already know the basics and I can just kind of start making it. Huh. I think one of the most important things here is the grid system. So, yeah, it's kind of a complicated game. There's some other simpler games that employ a similar grid system that I could try to use as a kind of easier way to demonstrate it. So, yeah, I might go with that. Yeah, I think, that's a good suggestion from OG. A battleship game is a good example of like a simpler one, right? Yeah, so I think the main concept is there's a grid, and I need to be able to put things into the grid. So, yeah, we could try just working with AI to kind of start a new project, and maybe that's what I'll do. So, yeah, let's try that out. Let's just see if this guy has any other tutorials. Like, what does he say to do? I think he just tells you to, like, go fuck yourself. Yeah. Do your own thing. Yeah. Oh, I do like this music better than the listen to. I'm gonna switch to that. Nice. This is much easier to listen to.
The rain is raining all around. It falls on field and tree.
All right. Goodbye, Flappy Bird. It was really fun, but I'm gonna move on with my life, and I hope you do the same. Yeah, I think that's good. If I can just get the grid where we can place stuff, and then I can add turns, and then I can do the next thing, one thing at a time. But yeah, I think I agree. Starting with a simpler grid game is a good idea, like a Battleship. So if I go over to Unity Hub, where's my Unity Hub? Here we go. So yeah, with Unity Hub, I should be able to make a new project. Oh, it did say there's like an update. I don't really know how important it is. Don't know that I really care. Yeah, I'll do the updates off camera. So let's go ahead and let's see. There's a 3D sample game. Could be interesting to dig into. They also have this learn section. I kind of wanted to look at the tanks game. We could try to give this tanks thing a chance. Let's just take a look at it and see what it offers. So it's a 6-hour beginner course. So for me, that means like 600 hours. Just kidding. So we're gonna create a game. I'm on 6.0. So it can end up looking like this. It's I would say that this doesn't really. It's cool. It's a good tutorial, but I mean, it's definitely got a concept of a grid, right? There's things going on in space. There's collisions. Care much for the rest of it though. Let's see, let me move it down a little bit. I wonder if I can kind of just read through it and pick out the pieces that are relevant. So it looks like we create a new scene, we add a level prefab. No, it's definitely very different. I believe it is too different. Let's just take a look at add the tank game object. I wonder if anyone made like a Unity 3D chess tutorial. That's 5 years old. This one is actually very simple. Let's see if we can make like a battleship. Okay, this guy made a battleship, but that is 4 years old. This guy made a battleship in 2024. Let's take a look at this.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode we are going to cover the full implementation of the game mechanics for the Battleship 2024 project, which we have started a couple of weeks ago. So let's go ahead and roll up our sleeves and get into the code. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Alright, so let's do a quick run of the project to see what we are going to be covering, and then afterwards we'll get into the details. So I'm going to go ahead and place my particular pieces onto the
really strange that he would do that. I thought he was just talking to us. But cool. Okay, he's back now.
All right, so there we go. The game is finished and we won again. So let's go ahead and restart and stop the actual game, and we'll get into the details of the explanation of how everything is put together from the ground up. Okay, so before we jump into the code, what I wanted to do is actually put together a diagram where we can visualize all of the key classes that we have created for this particular project. So over here, you would notice that we have the base board class, where we have the AI board and the player board, which they would manage the data as far as for each one of the players. And then of course we have a set of managers over here. Two of the managers happen to be a singleton type. So we have the board manager and the game manager utilizing the singleton pattern. And we have a camera manager that handles the camera movement throughout the state of the game. And then we have the UI manager, which manages everything related to the UI. The game manager basically keeps track of whose turn it is. And the board manager obviously will keep track of the board through the player controller or the AI controllers. So we have added these two new classes over here, and the singleton class, and we have converted the board manager and the game manager to a singleton type. And then we have introduced the player board controller and the AI board controller to make it easier for us to control everything related to either one of those boards. So that is the generic kind of like the game mechanics. And on to the right, we are actually utilizing the builder pattern, and the builder pattern is a really nice pattern when it comes to instantiating specific object types. In this case, the builder pattern has a couple of components. One of them happens to be the director. So the director is going to be utilized by the board manager in order for it to place that specific ship through the ship builder. And the ship builder is an abstract class. And then we have the, which is called, it's an abstract builder, and then we have the concrete builders. The concrete builders are going to be each one of the ship types. And then what is the product that the ship builder is producing? Well, it happens to be a ship, which we
Sure. So I'm assuming these are all game objects that get
so we are also
later.
integrating the builder pattern in this particular credit, the ship here. And how...
So if we look here, there's a board manager and a game manager. I don't see any of this ship builder ship stuff, but the board manager and the game manager are there. So yeah, that's probably actually the more relevant part for us. So cool. Yeah, it's cool how he's got these little squares. I don't know that that's exactly what I want, but it's definitely very related. I'm noticing, I'm wondering how long the delay is on the stream, so I'm just gonna quickly check on my phone. Go to my channel. Oh no, there's like no delay. That's alright. Yeah, it's like less than a minute. Cool. Alright, moving on.
Has evolved since our last episode, and now that you have a better understanding of all of the classes that are involved, where we cover them in the actual visual diagram that we have seen. So let me go ahead and stop the run. So we have the game manager, as you saw. We have the UI manager, as you have seen. We have the camera manager. We have the shipyard, which is basically the builder pattern. And then we have the board manager, as you have seen as well. And then what I have done over here is that we have extracted the actual handling of the placement of the units onto the board, either by the player or by the AI, to their own separate controller classes. So now we have the player board controller and also the AI board controller that are consuming and associating with the board manager, but the actual logic is now being handled by the controllers rather than by the board manager.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and bring up one of them. Let's bring up. So over here we will see that the board manager has been turned into a singleton. Similarly, the game manager has been turned into a singleton class. And in the board manager, what we have done is that we have extracted all of the logic that had to do with the player's move once the game started, and the AI's moves once the game started, from the board manager into the player board controller class and the AI board controller class. So the logic is the same. We have covered the logic in our previous episode. If you have missed that episode, please go ahead and take a look at that. But in this particular episode, we are just going to take a look at the actual structure and the refactoring, and how we have also extracted some of the events that are in relation to the player's board or the AI's board from, again, the board manager into their respective controller classes. In fact, the only thing that we have kept in the board manager as far as game logic is concerned for the user's input is the placement of the ships when we start the game and the player wants to place the ships onto the board.
That kind of the episode where he made the board manager in the game.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. As promised, we are going to start the next video series that we are going to concentrate on designing and developing a classic board game called Battleship. We are going to be doing this utilizing Unity 6. Therefore, we are going to also take into consideration some of the nice enhancements that Unity has introduced in the new editor. All right, so let's get started and let's get a background perspective of what this game is if you're not familiar with it.
The code for this.
Some historical background here. So the game of Battleship is thought to have its origins in the French game called L'Attaque, played during World War I. Some people also have been saying that it has been played by the Russian officers before World War I. And the first commercial version of the game was Salvo, published in 1931 in the United States by the Starks.
Okay, I mean that's nice that he wants to make a living, and I'm really genuinely happy for him. Okay, but I kind of got some good ideas from looking at that. I honestly bet that I could just kind of work with the AI and figure it out on my own. So I started a new project, a new 3D project, and I think I can go ahead and kind of start to describe what I want to build. I could watch him a little bit more. So let's go back.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. Place their objects and be able to do the selection of the opponent's
makes sense. You have the game structure,
attack position,
gameplay grids,
so
the rules,
target square is a hit
sequence.
Creating the board, we're going to be two reps are tracked by selecting which will start generating.
So he's going to start implementation in the next episode. Let's take a look.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since I released a video, but in today's video what we are going to do is dive
I'm going to watch this whole video and then I'm going to go
actual design and implementation of our game Battleship. So having said that, let's go ahead and my screen editor for this particular project. All right, so here we have Unity editor for this particular project. we decided to go with the latest Unity, Unity 6, LTS26F1. And what we want to do is start applying some of the concepts that we discussed in the introductory video. And if you haven't seen that, or if you don't know what about historical aspects, and also it will kind of give you an idea of what. So Unity 6, latest Unity, and apparently it's supposed to be the greatest. There are some really cool enhancements to it, and obviously there are some changes, so you might have to take some time to familiarize yourself with the actual new IDE and the graphical interface. But let's go ahead and just jump into it. So the primary task for us right now is to be able to implement the boards, the board layout. And if you recall, in the Battleship, it's a board game. So we are going to have two separate boards. One of them is going to represent the player's board, and the other one's going to represent the opponent's board. In this case, the opponent is going to be the AI. So what we want to do is first compose or construct the board units, and in order for us to do that, we are going to utilize Unity's built-in primitive system, geometric primitive. So we are going to utilize a cube, and let's go ahead and we're going to
This is
change
for the board,
so
right?
we're going to use built-in for us to do that, we are going to construct the board units, and in order for us to do that, we are going to utilize Unity's built-in primitive system, geometric primitive. So we're going to
let's
utilize
move
a
him over
cube,
here.
and
Then we don't need this. So, okay. So it looks like the first thing is in the hierarchy, he creates a cube. Okay.
let's go ahead and keep we are going to change some of the scaling over here. So we'll keep it at the unit scale. So X and the Z axis are going to be 1 unit, but let's go ahead and shrink it down to 0.01 on the Y
Okay, makes sense.
axis. So that will give us a really nice kind of like a board unit. Not
How
too
does he
thick,
do
not too
that?
thin. It's gonna be pretty cool. So the next thing what we want to do
Why?
is actually create a prefab of this, because later on we are going to utilize the prefab to dynamically generate the board. So in order for us to do that, we need to instantiate this particular game object
It's okay, I'll do
at
it.
runtime. So there's several ways you can do this actually. You can actually do it all through code. You can create generate a primitive at runtime, and then you can apply the scale similarly at runtime. So in this case, it's kind of pretty straightforward. So if you go that route, it's going to be super simple, not too many complex coding that you have to do. But generally speaking, it's best to once you have your model kind of set, you want to save that as a prefab, and it would be easier to instantiate that prefab. And then obviously the prefab itself is going to have a bunch of mono behaviors later on that you might want to incorporate. So if you don't, so one of the benefits of a prefab is to basically encapsulate all of those things in a particular unit, and when you're instantiating that unit, then pretty much everything that you have rigged up on that particular prefab is going to be available to you at runtime, and everything will work really cool. So how do we create a prefab? So the way I like to structure my projects is that I would have a proper folder structure for it. Obviously, you'd have a folder for models, folder for prefab, scenes, scripts, textures, audio, whatever it is, any asset that you have, you should have some sort of a structure to it, right? So in this particular case, in the prefabs folder, I already have created a board unit, and we can actually see that it's the same. So how do we do this? Simply you drag and drop that particular.
So he kind of has this little empty rectangular square, or a little square for the board. That's cool. do want to figure out a couple things, like how do I rotate my camera view? So I can move it just fine, but how do I rotate my view? What does this do? No. Orientation? Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, this is definitely doing it, but not in a very useful way. Okay, I mean that's definitely related. Oh, there we go. If I go in this thing and I do Alt and drag, it lets me do this kind of stuff, which is great. Okay, I learned one new thing. So he's got a YouTube Battleship prefab cube asset. Let's maybe just try to see what's in that cube asset.
Game object that's active in the scene over to your assets folder. Anywhere in the assets folder, that would create a prefab for you. So once you create a prefab, what you can do is rename it. So I went ahead and renamed it to board unit. And it seems like now Unity doesn't allow you to create the same name as the other one. So basically I'm gonna go ahead and delete the old one. And let's go ahead and rename this board unit. There we go. So now we have our prefab. Let's just double check and make sure the transform information is all good. It's all good. Okay, cool. So the next step would be, okay, we need to somehow auto-generate this at runtime. In order for us to do that, we need to write some code. So we would create like a board manager. In fact, I've already done a board manager, but how do you create a script? Well, we discussed how you can create scripts in other videos. You can go ahead and take a look at them. But quickly, you go to create, and notice over here, that the context menu has changed from the older versions of Unity, which is kind of good because now we have each category on its own subfolder, basically, which makes.
So I'm trying to remember. I think I just create a script here, right? No, that's like a. Yeah, I think this is the way to do it. So let's see what it does.
Makes it really nice eventually. Previously, if you were coming back from older versions of Unity, you would get an extremely long context menu, which you had to scroll up and down to find a specific components or objects that you were interested in. In this particular case, we go to the scripting and notice that even on the scripting side, we have a better context menu. So traditionally, majority of the scripts used to be mono behaviors. Now we have scriptable objects, which is cool. Then you can have just like an empty C# script, perfect for containers, data classes, etc. Not scriptable objects, right? Just traditional classes without any behaviors. And then we have this new concept called playables. We'll get into this later, probably not in this particular series, but at some point after we complete this particular project, I'm going to talk about playables and playable behaviors. This is something new. We didn't have this before. So we'll take a look at this and see how we can take advantage of that. Then of course we have assembly definitions and references. So these are something new to Unit 6 as far as being able to directly create them from the context menu. So that's a good enhancement. So let's go ahead and create a mono behavior. So you just create a mono behavior and you go ahead and say board manager. Let's call it V1. I'm gonna delete this, it's just for an example. And when you go ahead and create the script, Unity will do what it does. Go ahead and create the script and say board here. So
how did he make
so
this
that's a
script?
good enhancement. So let's go ahead and create a mono behavior. So you just create a mono behavior and you go ahead and say board
So this is on the
manager. Let's call it V1 mono behavior. So you just create a mono behavior.
So, okay. It looks like inside of assets, he has a folder. What is this tutorial stuff? I don't think that's important, but I think I can just make a new folder here. And we can call it something. We can just call it Battleship. Okay, because I'm going to make a bunch of stuff related to this. We can call it board game. How about that? I can see myself kind of making a bunch of board game related files or objects. And then my friend said, "Do I hear gunshots?" I should tell him no, that's just outside where you live. Okay, so yeah, it's going to be like a bunch of board game stuff. I'm going to try to make it reusable so that even if it's not used in this one, I kind of want to be able to make multiple board games because I like board games. Sweet. Cool. I think actually I got to go though. So thanks again, OG, and I will see you guys later.